This is how much love they had, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Sayyidina Bilal was on his deathbed in Damascus, Sayyidina Bilal couldn't even go into Medina after the passing of the Prophet. He had to leave the city. He could not even be in the city of Medina because everything was associated with the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he had to move to Damascus. He couldn't make adhan. He couldn't bring himself to make adhan anymore. He goes to Damascus, and after a year or so, during Abu Bakr's time, he has a dream. The Prophet comes to him and says, "Ma hadha jafa, ya Bilal. Ma hadha jafa." What is this aversion? What is this distance? Isn't it about time for you to visit us? Right? So Bilal goes into Medina, and when he comes into the city, immediately everything again reminds him of the Prophet, and he starts crying and weeping. And so he comes into the masjid and he sees Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr says, "Won't you give us an adhan?" He said, I can't. He says, "Why not? Just give us an adhan." I can't. Physically, I can't do it. So then Sayyidina Umar comes and he says, "Won't you make adhan for us?" I can't. And then the Prophet's grandchildren, Hassan and Hussein, come. And he hadn't seen them in about a year. You know how children they grow really quickly? Like if you don't see like your cousin or something for like a few weeks, you notice there's a noticeable change. And Hassan and Hussein, they say that Imam Hassan from the neck up looked like the Prophet. And Imam Hussein from the neck down looked like the Prophet. So now Bilal's looking at these grandsons of the Prophet ﷺ who look like the Prophet ﷺ. And they say, "Can you please give us an adhan? Just one time." So Sayyidina Bilal says, "Fine, I'll try to do it." So he begins giving adhan, and then everyone starts coming out of their houses. He says, "Hada sawtu Bilal." This is the voice of Bilal. They come into the streets, old women that had not left their houses in years start pouring into the streets, coming into the masjid. It's busting at the seams. People are filing into the masjid, and then somebody starts saying, "Yub'athu Rasulullah." The Prophet's been resurrected. He's been resurrected. Come into the masjid. Abshiru. Be of good cheer. The Prophet's been resurrected. So they come into the masjid, and Bilal's making adhan, and he says, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan." And he fell down. He couldn't even complete the adhan, because just hearing the name of his beloved, his legs gave out. He just couldn't do it. He goes back to Damascus. Many years later, he's on his deathbed. And they say that many of the Sahaba, like Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, never recovered after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. He was walking around just in shock, just in dismay. He never recovered from the death of the Prophet. Sayyidina Bilal was the same way. He just never recovered. He's in Damascus. He's on his deathbed. He's going through the sakratul maut, the throes of death, right? And his wife is hysterical. And she's screaming, "Wa musibata, wa karaba, oh tragedy, oh affliction, oh tribulation." And then Sayyidina Bilal, he gathers his strength and he says, "La karaba, wallahi, ghadan alqa Muhammadan wa hizbah." There's no affliction. Tomorrow I'm going to meet Muhammad, my beloved, and his fellowship. Right? This is how much they loved him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.